name is Jonathan Freeman, and I will be presenting to you a prologue. Rafe Epworth, in his book There Are No Shortcuts, makes an interesting comparison between teaching and boxing. He says, in teaching, and a lot like boxing, you get knocked down, meaning there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, and the bad days farther outweigh the good. But he always mentioned that you always get back up and you answer to the bell to start another round, the bell to start another day. And in teaching, the kids are the bell. You wake up every day to answer to them their wants, their needs, their desires, to learn and gain more knowledge about the world around them.
My name is Allison Colors, and I'll be presenting Chapter 5 titled Running on Empty. This chapter tells of Rafe Esquith's devotion to his students. Rafe Esquith had to take on extra jobs in order for him to get supplies for his classroom and to take his students on trips. He even did jobs that he was not paid for, such as teaching a guitar class, an extra math class that took place before school even started, and staying after class to produce a Shakespeare play. Mr. Esquith displays that teachers have to constantly reach into their own pockets for classroom supplies. Also, he was so devoted to his students that he did not give himself time to relax. On a camping trip to Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks, Esquith suffered a severe asthma attack. Mr. Esquith shows how teachers need to give themselves time in order to not be physically exhausted. In conclusion to Chapter 5, teachers make sacrifices, but when making these sacrifices, teachers need to use both their heart and brain to make wise decisions.
My name is Sarah Cardwell, and I'm presenting Chapter 6, The Heart of the Matter. In Chapter 6, Mr. Esquith talks about the worst time of his teaching life. He has a student named Anne. She was one of the brightest students he has ever had in his class. She was outstanding in everything she did. Her mother also had the same fire about learning as Anne did. Mr. Esquith helped Anne prepare and study to get accepted into a prestigious academy. A few years later, tragedy struck her family. Anne's parents owned a small store and her father was shot in the neck during a robbery. Mr. Esquith, over the next several months, helped Anne's mother at the store. When Anne's father was able to come back, he was no longer needed. Mr. Esquith never received a thank you from the family for his time and efforts, which bothered him a bit. After that, he did not hear from Anne again, but he did not lose any sleep over it. What followed after that, he did. It always hurt Mr. Esquith to hear that a terrific kid with lots of brains and talent joined a gang or started drinking in 7th or 8th grade. Several years after the incident with Anne, Mr. Esquith had a group of students he called the Musketeers. When this certain class graduated elementary school, they made a suggestion. They wanted him to teach a Saturday class for his former students. They could start studying Shakespeare and begin preparing for standardized tests like the SAT. One student he had been close to did not show up for Saturday class like normal. He has heard rumors that she started hanging out with the wrong crowd. One day, he got a note from one of the Musketeers named Sheila requesting that he write her a recommendation to enter special magnet program. In return, he wrote her an immature and nasty note refusing her request. Reason being is because that certain student was very rude and disrespectful to Mr. Esquith and his family. He had heard from current students that she was seen with her class Shakespeare shirt on walking with gang members, and when she was reproached by Mrs. Esquith, she was very rude and used profanity towards her. He went on with his life and later became Disney's Outstanding Teacher of the Year. Come to find out, one of the Musketeers that he had sent the nasty note to went to Ivy League school. She has grown up to be a brilliant and beautiful woman, Mr. Esquith stated in the book. She married a terrific guy and has a fabulous career. She is a teacher. So always remember, every teacher has his or her share of disappointments, hurt, and even pain. If you care a lot, all of those aches are magnified.
My name is Caitlin Gill, and I will be discussing Chapter 7 titled On the Road to Find Out. In Chapter 7 of There Are No Shortcuts, Rafe Esquith described how one of his biggest hurdles in his life was himself. He uses books such as To Kill a Mockingbird and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn to count on, and related himself to the characters Atticus from To Kill a Mockingbird and Huck from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. He states that if he wanted the kids to work hard, then he'd better be the hardest working person they'd ever known. And if he wanted them to be kind, he better be the kindest human being that they'd ever met. I believe my favorite quotes in this chapter are, "Teaching must be by example, not by lecture," as well as, "If my class produced brilliant students who were not equally good human beings, I had failed as a teacher." This chapter really shows all of his many efforts as a teacher to not only teach, but to better himself as well as his students. He is a guiding teacher who notices and controls his flaws for the benefit of his students. Just this one chapter is very inspiring, so I would imagine the entire book shines a light. 4 words from this chapter can summarize it and be taken out to carry with you, not only in this classroom, but in your everyday life. Those words are, be nice, work hard.
Yes, this is Jonathan Freeman back presenting to you the epilogue. In the epilogue, Rafe Esquith tells the story of a day he had while he was at work. The day started not very good. He got a phone call regarding one of his students had ran away from an abusive family situation. And he gets up and goes to work. He doesn't have a car, so he winds up having to walk in the rain for 5 miles. So he gets to work soaking wet, and then he finds that a song that his class had been preparing for their multicultural day had not been approved, and now everybody in the 5th grade had to do a Swedish polka dance, which he didn't like because he wanted his class to express the individuality. Then they're working on a play, and the play is coming along nicely, but slower than he progressed. But yet, they still wind up having to they worked on that for a while. So after the students left, after a long day of rehearsing the play, they left a big mess. And 2 students stayed behind to help them, which was Karen and Danny. Danny liked Karen, but Karen didn't like Danny. He was so nice to her. He was the most brilliant boy in the class. He was the best artist, best grades. Every girl wanted him, except for Karen. He'd always be so nice to her. He'd buy her gifts and things like that. So they stayed behind to help him clean up. And then while Karen was washing the sink out, her and Danny had a conversation that Mr. Esquith overheard. That conversation went like this. He said, "Danny, Karen, can I ask you a question?" And she responds, "What is that?" Danny says, "I don't understand you, Karen. I like you so much." Karen says, "Well, I like you too." But Danny says, "No, not like that." Karen responds the same way. Danny says, "All the other girls like me, but why don't you?" She said, "Because my boyfriend would have to be nice to everybody." And he walks out devastated. And then Mr. Esquith asks her a question. "How did you get to be so smart and so in tune with yourself at such a young age?" She said, "Well, because you're my teacher." And those are the moments, like he described in the epilogue, while we answer the bell, while we answer to the kids, to be more than just a teacher of 1 + 1 and 2 + 2, but to be the guiding force of helping these children to understand themselves and the world around them. That is why